been doing the rubber band. Remember we talked about that?
Yes.
And
yes.
where we have to flick the rubber band.
I used the rubber band yesterday. Yes. Yes.
But before we start all this, literally, I feel like a sadomasochist because I am literally clicking myself nonstop. I was in the grocery store. And I apologized for something. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't sorry. I wasn't sorry at all. And I was like, boop. And then I walked away. The woman was like, what is wrong with her? I was like, I'm practicing my self-talk, okay?
Yeah, yeah. But you know what's so crazy? I didn't even realize how many times I did that. And I was flicking left and right. And I was just like, oh.
I'm in pain. I'm going to take this off right now for the sake of it. But
I didn't like it. I took it off. I was like, oh, I don't like this. But it's in my mind now. And so when I'm today, I've been catching myself going like,
right?
Excuse me.
There you go.
Instead of I'm sorry or, you know what I mean?
Right?
It's like using your words. Use your words.
Instead of harming yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But so wait,
that was a good trick.
Right? That's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you were saying is you don't like it, but isn't that what we're talking about today is like uncomfortability of like not liking it, but having to have like boundaries and things
boundaries.
in life. Okay. So
big word.
And that's something that's a big word and people kind of run from because they're like, what does that mean? What is that? Do I have to let go?
Okay,
like,
let's define it.
Yeah.
Let's define the boundary.
You tell me, you define it. You tell me.
Okay, let's just make it super plain. A boundary is like a border or like, a literal boundary of like, you're on that side, I'm on this side. Or I won't go past this line, you won't go past this line.
Or boundary is it's kind of selfish because it's like, I don't know if you're going to pass the line, but that's not on me to care about. That's my boundary where I'm like, I know I'm not going to pass.
Yes.
Go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, do not pass.
Deal breakers. Those are boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all the different kind of boundaries.
And we all have different ones.
Absolutely. It's all unique to each person. So, and I can say for myself, I didn't understand that, especially in my 20s. I was like, what?
Right.
That wasn't even in my vocabulary to know what a boundary was and put that in there or what have you. And so learning boundaries, knowing, and first of all, knowing them and then establishing them, those are hard. Like it's hard to put those in place for yourself. And then it's hard to communicate them too.
Well, going back to the communication of why you have to be so clear, like what we were talking about, last week, is being so clear with your own communication and your skills so that you're very clear setting the boundaries and communicating that and saying, hey, this is where I'm at.
Well, but this is interesting because in terms of boundaries, I did have clear boundaries though that I didn't realize that's what they were. Like growing up, family, there was a lot of drugs involved where you had an uncle or aunt or whoever who was, and just by watching the behavior of the family and how they dealt with it, there was always this forgiveness, the enabling, all that back and forth. Yeah. In and out of the house, all that, and how it would all
never letting him in again.
Yeah.
Come on in.
And exactly. And then the deterioration of the family unit that way or the relationships that way and, the resentments and all that. So as a little kid watching it and just being perceptive enough to go, when I get older, that's not okay with me. I'm not even going to rock with it. And you get so familiar with the signs, right? That for me, whenever I would see that, or it was too much or like somebody was on something or whatever, I was super clear and I'd be like, okay, bad news. So that was never a problem for me. And that was a clear boundary.
Because you trusted your instincts of what you watched before, and then you brought it in to the behavior of now.
Yes. And I find that a lot of people fall into the trap of like, well, that's my son, or oh, that's my brother, or that's my, husband, blah, 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 blah. And what I learned just as a little kid watching this is it's the closest person it could be to you. And yet, it doesn't matter. You need to put the boundary there. And that's something that you cannot figure out for them. You could do what you can do, and then there's only so much you can do, and then it has to stop. And yes, it sucks. And yes, it hurts. But it's not your fault. You didn't do it. And that's just something you're going to have to walk away from. That's for self-care, self-love, self-sanity, the whole thing. And I remember that was it. That for me, it was a real clear boundary. And from there, that's how I started to understand, like, oh, okay, other boundaries, right? And then establishing that. Because that was super easy. That is easy for me to
That's
go.
a big
boom,
one
boom.
to start with. Yeah, as a kid.
Yeah.
But saying no one simple word is the most self-love that you can give yourself is no. Like, because I have addicts in my family, and when they're on drugs, they're not them. So let's start there. And they're not giving a shit about you when they steal your shit, because I've been a victim of that.
Yes.
And I'll call myself a victim of that. I'm not a victim, but I have been manipulated into it.
Absolutely.
I have, and so I've watched the patterns of it. And I'm not a mother yet, but I do have people in my life that I am close to, and I do feel bad. However, I'm loving them to death, not to life, if I am not putting up boundaries of my own, because they don't have boundaries.
Yes.
They'll just walk all over you. They're going to do whatever the hell. They're selfish. When you're on drugs, alcohol, whatever that is, you're not giving a shit. So if they don't give a shit, why don't you balance that? Why don't you mirror what they're giving you?
Yeah.
You know, oh, but they're sick. I'm sorry. I'm not negating that there's not chromosomes and mechanisms and things go on in your life, and there's not, mental issues. I get all of that. However, I don't have to join that party.
No.
I don't have to put myself in that room.
And it comes across, especially when conveying the boundary.
Right.
It comes across
harsh. Bless you. Bless you.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Ooh, get it, girl. See? A lot of feeling right now. Get it all out. I love it.
But it comes across harsh. It comes across rough or unfeeling. But it's actually the extreme opposite. It has all the feelings, and it has to come out that way, because why are you essentially have to switch your thinking about it. You're being put in a position that you shouldn't have to be put in. And you need to not save yourself, but you need to look out for yourself.
Well, I'm tough even talking about this right now.
No, same here. I'm like, no, this is the correct response to that boundary.
And that's because I think we're such empathetic people.
Yes.
That if you don't have your boundaries, there's no stopping where they're going to just take over. It's an emotional vampire of sorts, where I have to look at people in my life and go, whoa, you're good with taking and draining all of the blood from me, all of my energy. Like, you'll just keep on my neck as long as is humanly possible until I have to get off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll leave me dead in the street.
Right.
With nothing. Yeah.
It's almost like on the airplane, they want you to put your air mask first before you put the kid's mask on first. And that makes absolute sense. And that applies to pretty much everything. But like for that's a real clear. And so I started the boundaries thingy with that being a super clear boundary, because there's no black and white there. That is just what it is. And you can talk, yes, there's complexities and a lot of gray area in terms of the relationship and stuff like that. But in terms of the boundary of how to respond, my position is that's how it's got to be.
You know what's so funny? You were just saying the airplane. And the first thing I thought with boundaries with the airplane is when you sit in the middle and you have to establish. I learned that young.
I've been there too.
Where I was like, okay, I don't know this person. Who gets the armrest? What's the moments, like small little wins, I'm like turn into big issues, because I'm just like, okay, who gets it? And then you have to look at the person and then kind of like the fight. So I've established that from the very beginning, and just look at the person and just say, how are we? Like, and I think little things like that.
Yeah.
Give you big wins in life, because then you can have conversations that are bigger conversations. It seems minimal with the armrest.
Yeah.
But then I don't want trauma every time I get on an airplane, not wanting to fly because I'm scared someone's going to. It seems
when you
daft, but it's real.
Which one's your armrest? That's your boundary. Be like, no, that's mine.
That's exactly right.
And that's yours right over there. It's an unsaid.
And said it in the beginning.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Now that we've said what clear boundaries
are. Lord, here we go.
Which, by the way, I just want to say on a plane, if you're on a window seat, you got the window, all right?
Agreed.
So you give up the left, all right?
Agreed.
And if you're on the aisle seat, you got the aisle thingy.
Yes.
So you kind of give up the right, which is why the middle, you got to wait until the middle person picks their favorite side. And then you can, work it out. But just, do the dance. Either way, I'm an aisle seat person.
I like the window personally. I do. I like the aisle, but I like the window because then people aren't coming in and out going to the bathroom because I can hold it.
I used to. Oh yeah, no. I used to be the window person too, but now I'm like, no, I hate climbing over people.
Right? No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in saying that, we talked about this earlier, right? Is how much people may not know in life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I think I was raised with parents that were really attentive, and I had to figure out things on my own as well.
Sure.
However, they really did a good job at teaching me, please, thank you. You don't walk into someone's house and go in their fridge because this fat kid did that all the time. Like, I love going to people's houses in their fridge. My mother was like, no, you did that. You know, and like
I kind of did that. I would always go right into the kitchen and open the fridge and open the cupboards. I don't know why.
Right?
That was just like an automatic thing for me.
It's a curiosity
and it's
thing.
Cute when you're little, but not when you're older. Right.
Exactly. It's sneaky when you're older and it's curious when you're young, but you got to stop that, right?
Yeah.
In saying that, though, of how much people may not know, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. However, why boundaries are so important is because if they don't know certain things, and I'm on my way of living, it's not my job to teach them certain things.
Oh, yeah, no, not your responsibility.
It can't be. And that's when my boundaries have to come up and say, why don't you go learn that? Why don't you go figure that out? Like if that's, and this is basic stuff. Like if you come in, like I'm big on this. I don't know. I mean, it may sound petty, but like, if I'm going to come to your house, I'm going to always see if I can bring something. And I'm always going to try to contribute however I can. You know what I mean? At least offer.
But that's how you were raised.
Right.
Yes.
I don't understand how people in their 30s don't at least offer something when you walk into someone's door. Like, at least offer before you go. You know what I mean? Because I know people that like, don't even bother. But I always, but I know those people that will come in my door time and time again, go through eat it all. And then I have to be the bitch being like, hey, can you bring something? Can you contribute? Like, I love the person, but they got to learn better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even, it sounds daft, but if you allow that, what else? It's like, what's that old saying? Give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Absolutely. And that's exactly, okay, so this is where boundaries become gray. And how do you communicate them, right? Because that gets funky when, what's another good transition of boundaries? Like roommates.
God.
Right? So I remember I had a roommate in college, and I didn't realize this because I thought it was normal. Like my toothbrush is my toothbrush. Your toothbrush is your toothbrush.
Stop it.
Vanessa. My shaver is my shaver. Your shaver is your shaver. It's clear whose is
that's
what.
A cleanliness. Oh, I can't.
Oh, it was disgusting.
No.
And
don't tell me.
Oh, yeah.
Did she try to use your toothbrush? I won't even let my husband use my toothbrush.
It was the shaver. It was my
toothpaste. You could get Hep C. Like, you could get disease.
It was a lot of stuff. It was like the products. And just not letting me know because she just didn't want to get it herself.
Oh, no, that's
just
lazy.
Filthy. Oh, yeah, lazy. It was all those things. And then when I discovered, I was like, oh, hold up. These are still clear boundaries that you can establish because they're common sense boundaries, right? And yet people still have a hard time communicating them, but they are what they are. They're black and white.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think we have to necessarily like unpack those because that just is what it is.
Yeah.
When it gets gray, right, is when it's friends. And you or not friends, we'll get into friends, work. Understanding your role, busybodies, nosy folks, trying to like workspace kind of boundaries type deal. And I wonder, because that's where there's a whole lot of other issues that come into play, like power plays, power things like and fear comes into play because you don't know if it's okay for you to say that or put that in there, or will they look badly on you? Will they treat you differently? All that type of stuff. How do you suggest conveying your boundaries?
I'm going to tell you something real honestly. If I had to work in a 9 to 5, because I applaud everybody for this, HR would have grabbed me a long time ago and thrown me out because I am one of those curious people. I can't do it. I can't. However, I've learned enough to feel people's energy and respect it.
Yeah.
That if I feel as though I'm asking, because you know me, I'm curious. I am curious.
Yes.
I also know boundaries and I know space and I know human behavior, because I also know that if people are shutting off with their boundaries, with their, because your body, everything.
Yeah.
Then I shut my mouth and I stop asking questions. I just feel like a lot of people that I know don't have that censorship at all.
Right.
They just keep going and going. And then you have to stand up for yourself. And I feel like a lot of times if women stand up for themselves, they're being a bitch. They're being over aggressive.
Yes.
Where men are assertive many times.
Yes.
But I also feel, however, instead of the but, we were talking about that in the earlier episode.
Right.
However,
right.
I also feel like because a lot of women are raised in the beginning to go, this sounds stupid, but it doesn't sound stupid. Look, I need to flick myself. See, this does not sound stupid. See, it's the work.
Exactly.
See, everyone's watching this process. I am doing the thing. However, when people, even if I know women do this all the time, when they order, men don't have a problem with saying, oh, this wasn't right. Or they just don't care enough and they'll just eat the food.
Yeah.
I know a lot of women that have been on diets and they'll say, can I have the dressing on the side? And the dressing will come on the salad. And literally that dressing can ruin their whole day. Yeah. A lot of women are taught, don't say no, don't speak up, don't be a bitch. And so I think as time goes by, and especially with these movements going on and all of that, a lot of women also are learning to have their voice at a certain age. However, they're getting real aggro with it, and their communication skills are very young. With the way that they do communicate. Yes. Then I'm watching them and I'm like, oh, okay, let's put the training wheels on the bike first before you get on the bike. Because they go from not saying anything, being passive aggressive, bottling, to just like, F the man, and then they're like, well, why don't I have a relationship? And I'm like, whoa, you got to figure out that dialogue within yourself. So in saying that, you can have boundaries. However, you got to read someone else's energy in the beginning too. You can't just be like, he reminds me of my dad who was an asshole and I had boundaries. I'm going to kick his ass. I'm like, okay, you need to figure out what that is inside of you first, of where you want to go with how you're feeling with a certain person and start there. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Workplace, anywhere, romantic, but the workplace is an environment too that can get real catty.
Yes.
I get that.
And how do you protect from the catty? The petty. Let's go to the petty, because catty is...
You don't put your energy into it like anything. I think that you're there to do a job. And if you know that you don't like a person... And you've met people... I've met people all the time where I'm just like, ooh, they're not going to like me because I'm going to get too real, or this is not going to work. And then they're going to talk behind your back. And you can trust your instincts. If you're not going to trust that person, you know what I mean? I have a saying that's like, what people say behind my back is none of my business. However, it can be really hurtful when you hear about it in the office and things like that in close quarters. I would just disengage. I would stay private and let people think that you're private. And then if they don't like who you are, who cares?
And that's boundary.
Yes.
So then all of a sudden it's their business. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
If you don't like me, you don't know me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
How many people don't like me?
The only problem I have with that is
I don't
when
care.
True, but the only problem I have with that is when that type of talk affects your job performance.
Well, that's where HR can come in too. But
fully. In the world of freelance or and special coordinator working
or the
and
industry,
all that kind of stuff, the industry, that can be hairy, and so it's a matter of. And then there you go, play the game. So it's a matter of being professional, and that's a boundary too. What are your professional boundaries, and how you're going to stay true to your ethics in terms of like how you do your job or your work ethic, strong work ethic, not strong work ethic. And that's what you want to establish from the get, I would say.
Well, we were talking about this earlier too, about how I'm guilty of letting people come into my life and listening to them. I could tell you.
Because we're listening. Totally.
And listening all day. And like I was saying earlier, emotional vampires draining me. However, I'm not a victim, and I'm not going to let those people stop me from actually listening to people that I feel like can be really reciprocal at the end of the day. I feel like a lot of people stop entirely from engaging with people, or because they're scared that one person's going to do what another person did to them in the past. But you're losing yourself in that because you're assuming that person is going to be like the other person that hurt you. But that's not fair to that person and yourself.
True.
Because it really... And also, I think shame comes into play
be aware
as well.
Of that,
like if you have shame with something you did with another person, and then shame is a very big disconnector. And we were talking about earlier, my favorite quote is, we're not machines with broken parts. We're humans with unmet needs.
That's a great quote.
And it's so true, because there's so many needs that we need met as well, where I'm just in my life, I'm like, I'll listen to you. That's cool. However, that's it. If you can't give it back to me, because I have needs, and it's okay to say we have needs.
Yeah.
And if you can't give me what I know a girl, lovely. I'm going to be really real. When I start this real conversation like we're having, and maybe there's people out there that are listening to us and going, I can't get on the train with Shanna. She's too, that's okay. I feel like we have a very evolved conversations.
Yeah.
And some people have a lot of hurt, a lot of shame, a lot of pain that they don't want to step into this arena.
And they haven't done the work yet.
And maybe they have so much trauma and pain that they don't want to, and they like living in their bubble.
Yeah.
We're not for them. No. But I'm not going to stop this real conversation of us working through life, because we have one life to live and it's short.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop and minimize my conversation and myself for them. Yeah. They can choose, and that's their boundary. They can choose to step away from me. And that's okay. I don't know about you, but I know some people that have chosen to walk away from me in conversation because they're like, I'm not even going to go. There's too much to unpack and I don't want to. And I go, God bless you. Good for you. Do I take that personally? No. But they can't go there.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's like being a fifth grader and talking to a kindergarten. It's a very different, not one's better than the other. I'm not saying that.
Right.
It's like me talking to an engineer. Okay, you better 101 that for me if I'm even interested, or I'll walk away. I'll just be like, you do what you're good at.
Like, that's interesting.
Fascinating. However, I'm not going to sit here and try to engage all day in that different talk,
For sure.
I love what you do, but however,
I love that.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. So that's okay. I dig that. And essentially you're saying just stay true to yourself. Don't just trust, Vanessa, be strong in who you
Vanessa,
are.
You have to. It's kind of, we were talking, so much we talk about. It's like,
absolutely.
You can't jump on what everyone else is doing. And then you don't, this podcast is not for everybody.
No.
We'll have an audience that likes us, and I'm not concerned about the people that don't like me, that aren't interested. That you go do what you need to do. ESPN is an amazing channel. Yeah. I'll dip in and watch a game once in a while, but I'm not the viewer that's going to sit there all day and
just
buy
keep
all
it
the
all
products
in the background constantly.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My husband walks out of the room when I watch Housewives. I got to admit it. I do cardio to it. I love it. It's a franchise. Most people are like, my husband's like, oh my God, please help me. But, I'll watch it to shut up.
Oh, no, for sure. Be aware. Totally.
And I have no shame in that. But I also think with boundaries, you have to look at the shame that you've had in your life and the guilt that you've had in your life as well, to just go, why am I not okay? This is where you can grow with your boundaries as well and go, why am I not okay with this conversation? Why am I having issues with this person?
That's good self-work right there.
Because there's time. Okay. I don't want to get too close. And, we don't say names because I think it's important for us not to say names, because I think it's good for our audience, to unpack their own stuff. However, there's a woman that I met, and instantly, and it was supposed to be about me in this moment, because I don't make shit about me all the time. She made it all about her. And it was like to the degree of just, she knew it was an event that I was short dressed, put her leg out, had to get in every photo. And I was just like, really? You can't make this about me for 1 second? Yeah. And then people are like, do you like her? And I'm like, I don't know her and I don't care to. It doesn't mean that I'm angry at her. It doesn't mean that I have to talk shit about her, use my energy for it. But I just look at her behavior and who she is. And I'm like, if you can't make that about me for 1 moment. Well, those are her
issues playing all over somebody else's, day, essentially. I know that. Yeah. I mean, that can happen. I mean, how many examples are there of parents who do that to their children, where it's always about the parent? And, that's a cycle that starts when you're very young. And then by the time you're old enough to recognize it and everything, how do you deal with that? And that's something that, therapy can help with. But it's where people have to acknowledge their parts, their faults, and then you have to kind of navigate your way through that dynamic, because that's definitely a dynamic. But essentially it is that person. And it's not, that wasn't your fault at all in any way, shape, or form. You didn't have anything to do, and you're strong enough to recognize that. But that was her and her issues that she does not want to deal with. I doubt she even understands that that's what she was doing.
She's a grown-ass woman.
But that's what's so crazy. It's
Right.
like she probably didn't even realize that that's what she was doing. She comes across that way. And she probably doesn't even think to this day that she ruined your day.
Well, she didn't ruin it, but what?
No, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In those ways. She probably doesn't, she sees it differently. And so in those moments like that, I wonder, a part of me wants to go, do you understand what you just did? And then the justice of, and that's where anger comes in for me, where it's about the justice of saying, hey, recognize what went down here, what went on. And I know that for me, sometimes you just kind of have to let that go, because we're talking about boundaries, right? So at that point, you got to go, okay, and forgiveness. So you got to go, all right, live and let live. We're past that day. We're move on, bigger, better, and taking the higher road. But still, part of me just goes, what the fuck? Right?
Agreed. 1,000%. Agreed.
So, and it's crazy because, so we're talking about,
It's not my job to teach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your job to teach her how to deal with herself.
And also, I hate to be rude, but I watched her on different people like that where I'm like, who do you have in your life not making you better so that you need that attention? Like, you're alone. Like, and then you're complaining that you're alone, you're miserable, that you don't get the job opportunities you want. But look at your behavior when it comes to someone else's moment. You need to compete. You need to shine when it wasn't your moment to do that. And then you play victim. I have no time for that. You know what I mean? I have time for people all day that want to give and support. And then on their day, it's reciprocal. Oh, I am the queen. Because you know me. I can talk. I can make it about me. However, when it's other people's thing, I am the first one to be their cheerleader by their side. Why do people not know how to reciprocate that? Why? Like, anybody out there, tell us. Like, what is that? I don't understand.
Competition. Okay.
I get it. However,
those things.
When do you get old enough to stop competing? When it should just be about yourselves? I don't have time to compete with anybody. Sometimes my mouth goes to the floor of Instagram that I watch with people where I'm like, how come you have enough time as a new mother? Yeah. And this girl that I know has enough time as a new mother to have an Instagram page for herself, her dogs, her new child. I'm just like, what are you trying to prove to the world? Like, how do you have that much time to put everything out there? Now, God love her if that's what she wants to do. Personally, I don't have time to compete with that. I don't have time to show the world anything that I necessarily I'm not living in the moment. You know what I mean? I'm just come from a generation that I don't need to put it out there.
Do you think she wants acknowledgement?
1,000%. And that's a topic that we need to talk about, acknowledgement, acceptance, and all of that. I also think that she's a girl that hasn't had a lot of, she puts a show on everything. Like, everything's perfect. It's going to be okay. Why
because
her?
She probably didn't get enough attention as a kid.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole me.
Well, that is who she is.
It has to be about me type of deal, right?
Mm-hmm. And then she's a victim, and then she is still mad at her parents and all of that. And I'm like, when do we get out of the mad at, you know what I mean? And not make it so saturated. And then now you're a mom. Make it about your kid, being with your kid as opposed to flash, because it takes a while to put up Instagram photos, put the text, hashtag. I'm just like, wow.
I mean, I don't have the time.
I know, because you're living it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and there's no judgment on that. Yeah. However, she's also a person that's like a victim a lot, where I'm just like, let's bring it into the next generation and not put it on your kid. That's when I get kind of judgy. I'm going to be honest, is when you have kids. You need to figure it out, because I feel as though once you have a kid, tell me if I'm wrong, it's not about just you anymore.
No, I mean, essentially what we're talking about is, as you get older and become your own adult, there is a line there where you can't be blaming your parents anymore. It's not about them any longer. It's about you, and you have to figure out your own stuff and your issues. Yeah. And really, that's your job, kind of, as a human person contributing to society, I think, is to just figure it out. Yeah.
Reparent,
kind of. You really kind of have to do that.
My mom had a really abusive mom, and she went to this therapist for a long time. And she would say, it was actually beautiful. She said she went to the therapist for such a long time that the that the awful voices that she would hear that her mom say to her as a kid, like, you're no good, you're nothing, she got to relearn the good words from her therapist.
Wow.
Being the kind words.
Love
and so
it.
she went and got so much help
Yeah.
and really dedicated and took the time and the consistency. And then she retrained her brain to listen to the therapist that was like a new mom to her, as opposed to living in the past. And, forgiving her mom. Forgiveness is a big thing. I know we've talked about it before, but if you can't get it from that person, though, go get it from somebody that's going to be your cheerleader.
And then also to make the effort to help yourself.
Yes.
Read the books, talk to the people that you need to talk to that are supportive and that are helpful in that way, that are, that give you affirmations of positive, doing and joy. Like, definitely do those things. That'll help you along the way, whether you can afford a therapist or not. It is out there. You know what I mean?
You are the company you keep, whether it's church, whatever avenue is positive to get into. Because I'm not saying to you, how annoying would I be if that girl with the event that I had, if she was my quote unquote best friend?
Sure.
Wouldn't you be annoyed by me if I was complaining about her nonstop taking over my day?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you be like, Shanna, what are you doing?
Let
Where are
that
your
one go.
boundaries there?
Yes.
I can talk to you and say she really annoyed me, but
you were very
talking
present
about
in
now,
your day, and it stayed.
Yeah.
And that was actually what rose to the occasion. It was really great.
And so other than that, it's just like, okay, but at least I'm not complaining about it, and I'm not keeping her close. I just know who she is.
Now, all this is easier said than done, obviously, because, again, boundaries can get difficult, especially like in relationships, like romantic relationships, right? Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wives, all that kind of stuff. What if, example, you don't like being spoken to the way that you're being spoken to by your significant other? And how do you put a boundary on that? That won't, especially when, say, fear of conflict comes in, fear of not, like, let's just take away the ugly from it of being hit or abused or in any kind of shape like that, but just in a normal scenario, how do you suggest, like, I don't like being spoken to that way. I need you to listen to me a little bit more. I'm trying to share with you how I'm feeling. When you're trying to talk to maybe your person who doesn't give space for that, or you have the fear that, oh, he's not going to hear me anyway. He never does. Or she's not gonna, she's not even going to listen. She just waits to talk her part. Or, in those scenarios, so those are super common. So how in those difficult, because that's a fine line, how do you handle that?
I believe that you truly, truly teach people how to treat you. And
yes, I agree.
And I think a tool is that I don't think you can negate how another person's feeling.
Yes, very true.
And if a person thinks
that's hard,
there's more issues than there.
Yeah.
So when I'm feeling a certain way and I'm being spoken to a certain way, I look at the person and I say, I'm shutting down. When you can come back to me and you want to talk to me because I'm shut down and you want it, and we can have a good dialogue, why don't you come back? I put it on the other person a lot because they could just be projecting their moment, their day on me. And I'm like, I can't hold it.
90% of the time
I can't hold it.
Yeah.
So instead of fighting back, which I'm real good at, and getting you back and blah, blah, blah. And because what does that do? The neighbors call the cops. Like, it does not work because I've lived in that before. Where I will settle back and I will go, I can't.
Yeah.
Can we take 15? Can you come back to me when we need to talk so we're clear? And then I'll be much more open to when the person wants to speak to me. But people get on this tirade and tangent, and I'm guilty of it too, where I'm not even making sense at all either. I'm just releasing, where I'm like, go take a walk and work that out. I've had to take, you know what I mean? So I don't invite that energy in my space. And you know what? If they don't come back and talk to me, then I keep moving forward. Yeah. However, in a romantic relationship, I think too many people do the makeup sex. I think they do it and it becomes really unhealthy where people won't talk about things.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, let's just fuck it out. That's cute when you're young.
Sure.
I don't think that has a good shelf life.
No, because you never dealt with the issue.
Exactly. And then you work it out in the bedroom.
Yeah.
No, you need to actually say, wait, I'm not taking sex away from you. However, I can't connect to you right now.
Right.
Because, and this is all adult and it's not romantic and it's not cute and it's not in the movies. You know what I mean? But it's real to have a consistent, long lasting, good relationship and feel heard.
Right.
Because I think that's what people need to really be vulnerable and intimate.
Right. And you're trying to come to a space where you can actually get through to each other. Yes. I mean, this is where you said so many keywords right there. Energy, tone, being heard, so acknowledgement, all those things. I mean, I know for myself, and it takes a lot of mindfulness and it takes a lot of awareness instead of reacting and freaking out and getting all the like triggers going, exploding like fireworks all over the place. You got to take the moment. You got to breathe. You got to equilibrate the energies right there. You got to find your words. At least be clear when you're going to enter the conversation, so you know what you're saying. And there, you're strong enough not to get manipulated if that is a scenario, gaslit if that is part of the dynamic. Tone. It controls the tone. So some person get loud, but if you stay in your space and you own your space, then you have better protection and you're more fortified to kind of deal with what it is if it's a matter of conflict. Or if it's something that you're just afraid to bring up and you don't even know what may come out of it because it's such a big, news thing. Try to be pleasantly surprised and be like, you know what, this is a great thing. Just be, and it's mindfulness. It's being super duper present and just kind of daring to live your true you in that moment.
And remind yourself why you're with that person too when you take the walk.
Yes.
Come back. What's your goal at the end of the day?
And that could be husband's wife,
anybody,
dad, sister,
at
whatever.
work, like your partner at work, like
For
a CEO, a COO, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Remind yourself what the bigger goal is. Is it to be miserable and be a right fighter? Let's talk about right fighting. Okay?
Oh yeah, whether is it about always being right and wrong?
Oh my God, I can't. And I'm guilty of it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I am right in this scenario, and then I've been to therapy where she's like, you got to stay in the window. Yeah. So it's a window where you like, I'll look at Topher and I'll be like, he'll look at me a lot and be like, because I'm Italian, I'm expression. And he's like, wait, but I'm not hearing it the way you want me to hear it. You're out of your window. And I'm like, okay, bring it back in, come out of the window.
That's a good image.
Isn't it? Like he's like, you're out of the window. And instead of like saying, really calm the fuck down, because what woman?
So like if you're up here, you're
out of the window, not looking at each other.
Really good.
Yep. Isn't that a good one? Stay in the window, because then it's not a power play. Yeah. It's more of like, hey, I can't see you through the window if you're out of it. So like you're only seeing my chin here, and I want to really hear. So I think having like saying things like that as opposed to saying calm the fuck down. Oh, don't tell me to calm down.
Cue lines.
I need personally too. I do need those. And you know what? I'm not going to go so far as to say I'll put a timer on and be like, I need to be heard. And it doesn't usually work like that. But in the beginning, you need to set some boundaries. Yeah. You need to set some, when you're scared of what's going to come out, have a partner that is willing to go, I'll give you the 5. Yeah. I'll give you the 5 minutes. When the time's up, they're going to go, now I want the 5, because it doesn't have to be like that forever. Yeah. You just set that.
It's because you're training each other.
Yes.
And that's right.
Because what's the bigger purpose?
And know your rights.
Happy?
That's a good one. Know your rights.
Right.
Know what is right for you and you can do. I think in many cases, a lot of people think, oh, I can't do that. I always, whenever I talk to friends, it's always, oh, I could never do that. All right. Oh, God, I can't do that.
Really?
And I'm like, why can't you?
Right.
Like you can. Know that you can.
Right.
It's just daring to, or it's willing to.
Or how to bring that up.
Yeah, or how to
figure out a way.
And that's where you take your time to be clear so that you can convey and reach through.
Possible.
And kind and compassionate as possible, for sure.
Because there's a saying, do you want to be right? Yeah. Or do you want to be happy?
Yes.
What's the goal?
And also be open to be like, you know what? I didn't realize.
Damn right.
You could be wrong too.
I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And
you have to be open to being accountable and going, okay,
yes,
I'm sorry.
But there's something beautiful in that.
But be authentic and being like, I'm damn, I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry.
Because when my husband gives that to me,
yeah.
when he's like, oh, I'm wrong, I go, instead of going, told you, I go, wow, you just got 5 extra credit points for saying that you acknowledge what I'm saying.
So
now
true.
it makes me softer and much more vulnerable to go, thank you.
Yes.
Now now I can hear more of what you need from me because you've set the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then more love is developed, more even amount of energy exchange and the whole thing. Yeah, fully.
Yes. And I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of like, I'm right, dun dun. No, it doesn't work like that because that's when cheating happens. That's when the passive aggressive behavior, that's when people leave each other on a whim. Like that's when things happen because they don't feel heard and then they implode and then they run. And then they go. And then people feel abandoned. However, then the other person's like, well, I felt like I wasn't in this relationship for a long time because you didn't hear me. And it's kind of like it was broken a long time ago.
Right.
But yeah. So I think with that, it's boundaries. I've also learned like what the other person, my husband's boundaries, like we don't cuss.
Well, there you go. That's compromise right there. It's about giving. Yeah. It's not just about you and what your needs are. It's about the other side and making the space so both of you guys could be in that same space.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like baking, right?
Yeah.
I don't bake a lot because I know I have to have a lot of rules and boundaries with baking. We're cooking. I can throw this in and that, and it's perfect. But like, you ever try to put not enough flour or egg or cream, like in a baking recipe? That's just not going to rise. It's not the breads, the yeast. If the yeast isn't in there, you got to follow the rules. And sometimes I'm in the mood for that, and sometimes I'm not. You know. But however, what I like to do, I like to live my life. Well, I like to live my life more as cooking.
Yes.
Where I can throw things in, take things out, where it's much more of a negotiation that flows than living my life being right as a baker and doing this and that. That's just how I compare it to foods. And
for sure.
This is raw talk.
For sure.
Food.
I get it.
But yeah.
I totally get it.
Oh, speaking of, real quick, protein puffs. Here we go.
I've been staring at them this whole time.
Okay, my girl that loves her chocolate. So wait, you try the chocolate first because you love chocolate.
Really?
I don't know. Let's try it.
So sour cream and onion was really calling my name right here.
Shrewd Food, and these are cookies and cream. And then look at these. So the whole bag is 90 calories, 3 grams of fat, 3 grams of carbs, 2 added sugar, and 13 grams of protein. And it's good oils. We'll talk about oils and stuff another time, but like in food. How is it?
Okay. Yeah, not bad. It's like healthy cheese puffs.
Interesting. We just like trying new things. And you know what? I gotta say, whether we like these or not, God bless this company for actually getting a product out there. Yeah. There's people that probably like will eat this day in and day out. These are
healthy stats and the whole thing because
just for them, true.
Yeah.
I love trying new stuff. I love it.
Strong flavor. It's actually really good.
Interesting. All right, baby. So do you have a tip? We just gave a whole bunch of tips for boundaries, relationships. So what's one thing that you'll work on, do you think, like this week?
I think what really helps with boundaries and stuff is staying grounded in who you are. So that you have a place where you can pivot, you can start from your home. And I know for myself, what really helps me to do that, I mean, we've talked about, I've started meditating, but beyond that, if you're not a meditator or anything like that, sometimes you just kind of, and I remember in college when I would be spinning out of control and just, figuring out life and being like, you're all over the place. I'd call my mom and be like, and she would hear it all, and she'd be like, okay, go outside and stick your hand in the dirt.
I like that.
And I was like,
no,
what?
Really?
Yeah. But I went, what? That makes no sense. And she's like, just stick your hand in the dirt. It's the ground. And you just, sit there for 5 minutes and just keep like even a finger in a potted plant or something. Just stay right there with it and breathe and just kind of get centered.
I like that.
And I literally was like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, thanks. Bye.
I love it.
But not for nothing.
Did you do it?
I did it.
Okay.
And I went, oh. So I've always kind of just kept that because if you feel so all over the place, so spread out, so, you know what I mean, your head, you can't focus, you kind of need a physical something to just rein you in.
Bigger than
Bring
you.
you in, bigger than you. And that's just something you cannot manipulate or do or whatever. It literally is like take a potted plant inside your place or go outside in the dirt and just stick a finger in there, stick a hand in there, sit down, just put a hand on it and just touch it and leave it there for like 5 minutes and don't go there and just be on your phone, swiping away or whatever. Just kind of, and just take everything in,
Love it.
Oh, that plant is green. Oh, that roof is red. Well, it's kind of terracotta. And then just start
being present,
grounding and being present. And those are really good. That's a really good physical way of just getting centered. And then even just a few minutes, 3 minutes, get up, go, wash your hands, and you'd be surprised how you feel.
I love that. Yeah. Mine would be go take a walk without a phone. Mine was going to be like that. Oh, okay.
I like this one.
Okay. 90 calories per bag. Hey.
Because
sometimes you just need the crunch. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like sometimes you just want the crunch and you just want something to satisfy. Because a lot of times I'm not even hungry. I'm bored. But I need something, sensation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And gum is not good for me.
No, gum just gets the saliva going even more, and then it makes you more hungry, and then you bite your lip. No, nobody wants that. No. Except you want to make those lips bigger. Hey, I don't know. Anyway, the injections in the lips I can't do. But yeah, I was going to say, try to get away from your phone. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure my screen time goes down once this week. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the phone. I'm going to concentrate on my own breath. And I'm just gonna move. And yeah, sometimes my husband and I will get into, and then I'm like the Flash. I'm out the door, and I'm like, I gotta go just for 15 because I gotta move.
Moving
I'm like
is
a
good thing.
dog without
Get
a
on
leash. Like
treadmill.
I have to run. Yes, because words are bullets, and I'll say things if I'm sitting down too long. It ain't cute. So I just
said something the other day. You were like, say stuff in the mirror that you should never say to anybody ever.
Yes,
And get it out. And then go hit your day.
Yeah. Definitely.
I got it.
All right, Vivi. Yeah. So I think that's good. Boundaries-wise, we're going to work on it. This is a daily
lifetime.
process.
It's a lifetime journey. Yeah.
But it feels good to just unpack it, let it out.
It's really good. I mean, it's just a life skill that you need to kind of start to develop.
Yeah.
And the sooner the better.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So you let us know what you guys think. Comment below, and then also subscribe and ring the bell so that you guys know when our next episodes are coming, because it's going to be weekly. And raw talk, not food.
Raw talk, not food.
Comment. We want to hear your comments.
Yes.
Comment.
Talk to us.